Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today I want to go back and cover a topic which we were talking about back in the summer, and that is Manchester United's rest defence. Now, we done a video on this back in July, and in July I was saying that Erik had done a brilliant job of improving the rest defence at Manchester United. Fast forward to early December, it's the complete opposite this season. I think United's rest defence is up there with the worst in the Premier League. I think it's absolutely horrendous, and it leads to a lot of chances conceded for Manchester United. So we need to look at some examples of this, discuss why it is so bad, but also potentially discuss some potential solutions or make some suggestions on how we can improve in that area. But before we do that, we need to figure out what rest defence actually is, or certainly recap what rest defence is. Rest defence is basically when your side has the ball, what is the rest of the team doing to make sure if you lose the ball, you're in a good position defensively. So we'll quickly go to the tactical board to kind of enhance my point here, I guess. So if I've got the ball here with Bruno Fernandes, what are the rest of the players doing to make sure that if I lose it to this guy, we're in a good position? So for example, a bad rest defense would be all these players are up here, and when we lose the ball, there's no one to defend a transition, right? This would be a bad rest defense, because when Bruno Fernandes loses the ball here, we can see we're going to get counter-attacked very easily. There's lots of space. That's a bad rest defense structure. Perhaps a better rest defense structure would be a shape which looks a bit more like this. Ignore the personnel, but just look at the idea. This would be a better rest defense structure, because when we lose the ball in this area now, we've got players here to defend a transition. Now, it's not just about the shape, it's of course also about how the players in the system are executing it. Are they the right profiles, etc. In my opinion, Manchester United are getting it badly wrong this season, so let's take a look at it.
So before we continue into the video, a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, JerseyFifa.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that be the new latest releases or the old classic ones like this, Jersey FIFA has something for everyone, and now you can check it out yourself using the link in the description down below. And also make sure to use code JerseyFifa for 10% off when you order.
So for me personally, there's a lot of mistakes going on with the rest defence structure. And it starts at the base, where I think the Manchester United players are given a bit too much positional freedom, too much licence to move into different areas of the pitch, which leaves just the profiles you don't really want to defend a transition. For example, let's say we have a rotation here where Amrabat pushes forward and Bruno Fernandes rotates deeper. Bruno Fernandes now defending the counter-attack isn't particularly ideal, you know, he's not the profile to do this. He's not big, strong, physical, strong in the tackle. He's not really a good profile for it. Sometimes, obviously, we also see centre-backs moving quite high. It leaves the wrong players in positions to defend a transition, which is part of a bad rest defence, and we'll see some examples of that shortly. Another problem is that even when we do have the ideal personnel in these positions, the spacing is just horrendous. With Harry Maguire, we have a player who is often probably too deep. When it's Lisandro Martinez, he's probably a little bit too high. We've then got midfielders which are just always too high up the pitch. We all know this problem now. We have a solo pivot and a 2-8 push incredibly high up the pitch. But we also have fullbacks which play wide as well. So that when we do lose the ball, there is just so much space in the middle of the park. So much space. And we've spoken about this a lot on the channel. That when United lose possession, it often feels like one midfielder and two centre-backs against the world. Occasionally we'll see a fullback deeper and United look stronger in those positions, but a lot of the time we'll see both fullbacks quite high, quite wide, and it leaves so many gaps in this area for the opposition to drive into. And this isn't a recent problem, this is a problem which has been occurring throughout the season. We can go over to Once Video Analyzer Pro to see this. Literally, first game of the season. This was of course the 1-0 win over Wolves, and what this actually proves is that even in games where United have won, the rest defence has still been a problem, and we'll see some more recent examples of this as well. Basically, the problem we've got here is United have attacked, and our holding midfielder here, Casemiro, is just simply far too high up the pitch. So that as Wolves move the ball forward, there's now a massive gap in the Manchester United midfield, right? So again, if we're talking about a good rest defence structure, there would be a player in this area looking to break up the play, looking to win the ball back, get United back on the front foot. But instead, we have a bad rest defence structure. We've got our forwards are too high, there's no midfield, then we've got a defence. So there's too much space for the opposition to carry the ball into. So that's a bad rest defence. And this really hurts United. Now, on this particular occasion, we've also got Lisandro Martinez at centre-back, who, you know, due to the lack of midfielder in front of him, chooses to be aggressive. Now, unfortunately for him, he gets beaten. And now United's rest defence, or, you know, transition defence, really looks bad. Really looks awful. We've got our right centre-back, and we've got our left back, like I said, basically against the world. Varane's just behind me. This is a really bad rest defence structure though, right? And it came because United had players too high, and then Sandro Martinez, Casemiro too aggressive in the midfield. It leads to these massive spaces. The opposition get into really good positions. They don't actually score here, but you can see that's a problem. To end up in a situation here where we've got 1, 2, 3 Wolves players against a back 2 for United, that is a problem. But that isn't a rare occurrence. It's happened throughout the season. This is the Newcastle game in the Carabao Cup, where United lost 3-0. So we can see Garnacho has just lost the ball on the left wing. Now, the first thing that we'll note again is that United are incredibly high up the pitch. There's a player off the pitch here, the right winger, off the screen here, sorry. We've got Martial, we've got Garnacho, we've got the fullback, we've got our holding midfielder, Casemiro, high, because of the rotations and deeper phases, meaning that the players responsible for defending this particular counter-attack are Mason Mount and Hannibal Mejbri. Right. Not exactly players which profile as true ball winners. So Livramento is a very good, strong ball carrier. He carries the ball forward. Mason Mount and Hannibal, you know, they try to get him, but individually, they are the wrong profiles to be in these positions. So again, it's a bad structure. You're putting the wrong players in these positions to try and break up the counter-attack. And Livramento is able to carry the ball forward. He beats those two players, and now we can see problems again. Livramento and the striker, 2 versus 2 against the 2 Manchester United centre-backs. And as the move plays out, Almiron attacks down the bottom. We've now got 3 Newcastle players here, all making forward runs, individuals for United to make bad decisions. But again, we can see the bad rest defence structure has led to an incredibly dangerous Newcastle attack. All from, once again, United having the ball in the final third in a 1 versus 1 situation with the fullback. They're in a good area, but United lose the ball, and it's far too easy to drive through them. We've also got more recent examples. This is against Chelsea, a game which United actually played quite well and were a better team and won. I thought it was our best performance of the season. However, I highlighted in that game that even then, there was still rest defence issues. So once again, we've got Garnacho on the left wing. The ball eventually gets lost. So I believe he has a shot here. Robert Sanchez saves it and it rebounds out into the midfield. But watch where the ball ends up when it rebounds out. It rebounds towards Caicedo here, just above me. Now what you will notice is that we've got Dalot reasonably close, but not really affecting the ball at this moment in time. We've got, I believe this is Luke Shaw up here, not close to the ball. Caicedo's going to get to this ball first. Now, someone like Sofian Amrabat eventually gets close to this. Dalot also eventually gets close to this. But it's too little too late. Now, you could argue that this is a problem with the structure and that the players aren't close enough. Or you could argue that it's a problem with the profile of the players. Perhaps a more athletic midfielder in here would have eaten up that ground, got in nice and strong and made the tackle, and the rest defence would have been fine. But because United get there late, due to a combination of perhaps the both, Caicedo pokes one ball through to Mudryk. Mudryk picks the ball up in space and drives forward at the Manchester United defence. Apologies for the glitch here. Mudryk gets the ball, picks it up, and is now on the counter-attack. And now Manchester United have a massive problem because now we can see 4 versus 2. But what we can see, I think, is this isn't just a rare occurrence. This isn't something which happens here and there. It's a very regular thing. Manchester United, when they lose the ball anywhere near the final third, it's almost definitely going to lead to the opposition hitting on the counter-attack because the forwards are nice and high. The midfielders also join high. We can see here there's no midfielders deep apart from Fernandes, but also the defence, the back line is quite deep. So it's too easy for Chelsea to move forward. Now again, United don't concede here because Mudryk was horrendous. But United get away with one. But just because you don't concede, it doesn't mean it wasn't bad defending. We've got another one here. Now initially, we can question Luke Shaw, what on earth he's doing on the ball here against Bournemouth for the second goal. I don't really know what he's doing. I don't know why he hooks this ball forward. But what you can see again is too many rotations. Sofian Amrabat has rotated forward and decided to push into this area here. Reguilon is nice and high on the left-hand side. That's not too much of a problem. Bruno Fernandes is now going to be our deep player responsible for transition defence once again. It's not ideal. The ball goes in from Luke Shaw. Also, what I want to highlight, though, is you'll notice Harry Maguire towards the top right of the picture here. Harry Maguire is so much deeper than everyone else. Now, United at this stage haven't actually lost the ball yet, but just look at the gaps. The gaps from here to Maguire to McTominay, massive. But also the gap here, McTominay to Bruno Fernandes, massive. So when eventually Bournemouth do win this ball here and play the ball forward into space, you know, first time, they get there on the first ball, look at the space and time Bournemouth have to receive the ball and get on the turn. And once they've done that, they're getting on the turn into space. Perhaps if Harry Maguire had been holding a higher starting position, he could have found himself, let's say, up here somewhere. And perhaps he could have gone and engaged the ball much earlier. But it's not something that United choose to do. Instead, he stays back here. And we can see, once again, Bournemouth have space to drive into. And on this occasion, the ball eventually gets worked out to the left wing, comes into the box, and Bournemouth do score. So United actually finally get punished for it. But it's a problem. It's a real structural, but also an individual problem with a lot of the players. Ten Hag has to find a way to address it. Because at the moment, it's not working, it's not good enough. So what can he do? What are the changes he could make? Well, stop pushing his central midfielder so high would be a start. Let's play one of our midfielders just a lot deeper. Just drop a midfielder deeper. Is it Scott McTominay? Maybe not. Is it, let's get ourselves a Kobbie Mainoo in the side. Perhaps if we put Mainoo into the midfield, suddenly we have a double pivot. So again, let's go to the current structure. It looks like this. 2 centre-backs, a holding midfielder, wide full-backs, 2 really high 8s, and high wide wingers, right? Lots of players forward. When we lose the ball, there's too much space in here, and also in this channel here. Why don't we just do this? Move Maguire across a little bit, move Shaw across a little bit, drop a fullback a little bit deeper, and let's take McTominay out the side, and let's drop a midfielder a little bit deeper. Now, if we lose the ball, you know, we can still get 5 players, on that last line. We can still attack high up the pitch. But now, if we do lose the ball in these areas, we've got 2 central midfielders, we've got 2 players in Dalot and Shaw whose, job description is basically to defend a wide area, and then we've still got Harry Maguire, who is our strong physical presence at the middle of the defence. This would be a much better structure. Now, of course, it isn't just as simple as that. It's not as simple as let's put an extra midfielder deeper or let's move a fullback a little bit deeper. That's definitely a start. That puts players in the right positions. Then we need to look at profiles. Long term, is Harry Maguire the player you want in this area? Possibly not. Kobbie Mainoo and Sofyan Amrabat, is it tall enough? Is it strong enough? Is it physical enough? Again, possibly not. So in the long term, we would need new players for those positions. But I do think that this would be a start of heading United in a better direction. Back to a direction which we saw last season. Last season, granted, it wasn't a midfielder dropping in. What we often saw last season was that we'd have a back three like this, and then one of the fullbacks would move inside. That's another way United could do it. If Ten Hag wants to do that, that's fine, and he can still keep his 2 high 8s. That is a plausible solution to the problem. But United just need to stop their central midfielders being so isolated, but also it's about the vertical compactness of the side, the horizontal compactness of the side. When United are in possession, the team isn't ready to lose the ball. So when United do inevitably lose the ball, because we play quite a fast-paced game, when we do inevitably lose the ball, there are gaps everywhere which the opposition can exploit, and it leads to United conceding goal after goal after goal after goal. So that basically, to go back to what we we're covering in the summer, is how Erik ten Hag's rest defence has gone from being good last season to horrendously bad this season, and it's leading to a lot of problems for Manchester United. Those big gaps mean that the players have to cover a ridiculous amount of ground, which means as the game goes on, they fatigue. When you fatigue, you make worse decisions because your brain is getting tired. You make worse decisions, you lose the ball more, you make mistakes, and you concede goals, and you don't tend to score them. That's the problem for Manchester United. Let me know what you think the solution is in the comments down below. Is it the case of moving a midfielder deeper? Do we need to invert a fullback like we done so well last season? Is that the solution? Do we need to bring a new player in? Someone in January perhaps? Or perhaps the answer is already, in the squad. Is it a Kobbie Mainoo? Is it a Dan Gore? Is it McTominay deeper? Will it be the return of Casemiro alongside Amrabat, for example? Let me know what you think the potential solutions are in the comments down below. But apart from that, we are finished for today. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.